that email, please. And how about Bob Yeager reading that if you can get it?
Oh,
Unmute,
okay,
Bob.
there we go. Got it. Dear folks of Baba, most of us, though not all, enjoyed an initial joyous honeymoon with Baba, which sometimes lasted for weeks or months. And then Baba began his work of drawing out our strengths and tackling our weaknesses. The struggle with overcoming our weaknesses, our topic, can be painful, but thankfully there is a sense of growing inner freedom, which is a comforting compensation. In many ways, our weaknesses can give us a feeling of unworthiness, and we can become obsessed with thinking that the whole spiritual journey is about overcoming all our weaknesses. That is not really true. Our aim is to become detached from our weaknesses and not let worrying about them take over our lives. In what may seem paradoxical, realization comes in the midst of our strengths and weaknesses, not when we're finally free of weaknesses. In one of Mehera's favorite quotes of Baba, he says, "Seeds germinate in soft soil. I plant my seed of love, not in your strengths, but your weaknesses." In other words, weaknesses have a place in our growing love and are not as bad as we might think. Mani, Baba's sister, who spent most of her life next to Baba, used to quote this line, "I prayed to you for strength to carry out your work. You gave me weaknesses so I would depend on you." In my experience, rather than my weaknesses contributing to a low self-esteem, Baba has converted them into empathy and compassion for others, and that has always been an unexpected benefit. The work of overcoming our weaknesses goes on and on with Baba, struggling to rise above such weaknesses as anger, lust, wanting, backbiting, dishonesty, possessiveness, and worry. And we are humbled in the process for sure. It is an integral part of our obeying Baba. Eric used to share with us Baba's method, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. When asked why 1 step back, Baba said that in this way, our pride of progress is being annihilated as we go along. This is by way of a long introduction to our topic this Sunday. Is there a weakness, large or small, that Baba has helped you work to overcome eventually, or at least come to a manageable place with your weakness? To give several examples, has Baba helped you overcome excessive worry about your children, fear of being fired from work, anxiety about public speaking, addiction to alcohol, managing your financial affairs, discomfort in being with large numbers of people, worry about health, a feeling of unworthiness about yourself, loneliness, backbiting, boredom, procrastination, white lies? There are innumerable weaknesses. The weakness you choose need not be large and consuming, and you needn't share a weakness that makes you feel too vulnerable. What is most helpful is to hear how Baba intervenes in his very personal way in our lives. What we share is always interesting and informative to all of us. The mandala used to give this analogy of the master's work with his disciple. In shaping a clay pot, the potter with one hand strikes the outside of the spinning pot with a flat mallet, while his other hand is on the inside, supporting the pot's fragile wall. We are always being supported by Baba's inner help in the process of dealing with our weaknesses. In his love, Jeff.
Jeff, you're on mute, Jeff.
Oh, so I don't know what I just said. But anyway, yeah, welcome to, the late night chat. And, one thing I should say, I thought of it, is that, in kind of being able to express these things so beautifully as all of you have over the years, someone is going to ask you about Baba and your life with Baba, and you will find that all of this is very helpful in giving people a feeling of what it's like to be with Baba. So I just think, and I'm very impressed by how forthright and how kind of vulnerably you guys often speak. So it's touching to me. So anybody want to venture out into the high seas? Any? Oh, now Bob, you got your hand up over there.
I do.
Oh, good.
Since I got your email, I've been sort of trying to put this together. It's a very confusing topic for me because, well, I'll try to explain it a little. Way back in 2007, I wrote a poem um, that's in the book that Jeff and I did about pulling at a thread is the title of the poem. And in that poem, I sort of towards the end, I use the metaphor of all the hidden residue floats up and up from deep swamp muck, and which is kind of the way Baba describes how all of these weaknesses come up in us. Hey, what are you doing there? I uh, and I sort of understood at the time that that must be what the process is. But in my life in the present for the last number of years, I find that, just using that metaphor in a poem, I really didn't get it. But now it seems to be happening to me much more actively. So I'm not just writing about it in a humorous way, I'm experiencing it more, of all of these weaknesses coming up. And for me, it isn't generally just one weakness. They seem to come up in bundles, I mean, I one thing will pop into my head or into my heart, and then with Baba's help, I'm able to kind of let that go, and then the mind says, "Oh yeah, all right, well, try this one." And so, often weaknesses for me anyway tend to follow each other in a progression, and it really gets overwhelming at times. It gets really tiresome and sometimes, well, yeah, overwhelming. Um, and the I don't know what I'd do without Baba's help. With the only thing I can do is to rely on him to help me with this. His injunction to try to let these thoughts come and go, see this stuff. You can't just push it down. I've done enough of that, and you can't just ignore it. It has to be there. You have to see it. But then, let it come and let it go, and give it to him, and that's very helpful. And I try to start each day and end every day by entrusting everything to Baba. And though it feels often that I'm walking on a very thin, tight rope, he helps. I don't know what I'd do without him. So that's it.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we're all much in the same boat, Bob. Anyone else want to venture out? You can't force me into this so soon here. Oh, good.
Ron.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. The thing that I think there's a variety of different kinds of weaknesses and mistakes that we can make. And of course, making them actually can humble us, which is an important thing. So I don't think at this point that I so much fear my falling prey to my weaknesses, but I rely on Baba to let me know when I do, and if he's displeased. But one of the things that comes to mind, Baba once, at least once, probably more than once, said about Maya, which I think Maya is some of the big problems that we run up against. He said that we should wrestle with Maya, and in so doing, learn Maya's tricks, Maya's wrestling tricks. So it's like a wrestling match, and Baba I see as my coach, and every once in a while he'll give me an idea of what to look for when Maya is about to put a hold on me, or trip me up in some way, or has done it many times, and now it's time for me to try to avoid that. So I think that's been something that is just doesn't go away. This idea of learning Maya's tricks, and so all kinds of things that people might offer up that are lies or deceptions. I try to have a much more skeptical nature in the last, I don't know, couple of decades at least. And because it ruins my happiness to have to go in for something where somebody is trying to deceive me or fool me. Better for me to know about it and then do something that would please Baba in regard to it. Anyhow, so that's a couple of ideas that have been important to me for a while.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wanting to venture out? Ah,
Marian.
Oh, me, Marion? This has so much that I can't cover everything. I resonated a lot with everything that's been said. What I've had to notice now in my elder years is that I was fortunate to have in my my training as a transformational counselor of what would I call it? Tools. I call it tools in my toolbox, so that I can report into Baba. You report into Baba where I am. As the first step of transformation is observation, not trying to be different. And I've learned this the hard way, of trying so hard to be good, trying so hard to be perfect, all of that stuff. So those were some of my faults of not knowing that as a human being, I'll never be perfect. As a divine self, I am perfect at my core. So it took a lot of work, with a lot of processes, a lot of institutes that teach how to, tell what my energy's doing, where my subtle body is clogged, where it isn't, where it's open. So I have a lot of tools at my toolbox. And so now it's a time where what comes to me is about surrender. And I thought, okay, all right, giving everything over. Well, that means that I've had to look at, and this is a key in my sharing right now, expectations. It wasn't Baba, but it was a very wise teacher once told me, all expectations lead to disappointment and pain. And I said, well, can't I have one expectation? He said, yes, and it will lead to disappointment and pain. And however, don't give up the real need. And Baba has this in the discourses. I will not grant your wants, but I will fulfill every real need of yours. But you have to dig for it. You have to really peel off the layers and find out what is that real need. And so that's where I am right now. So that puts me more in the now, in the present, and that brings up the main emotion that I've had, and everybody has a main emotion in their lifetime, in an incarnation. Mine has been fear. And so I still deal with it, fear and anxiety. And as Baba said, the psychological is is spiritual. You don't have to go into all the past lives, but if there's a past life that appears that helps, that's good. Otherwise, you can deal with this life. So, in going back into my childhood, I finally realized after all these years of digging into everything that when I get ready to go somewhere and I want to be on time and I push it, I'll start getting ready kind of late. So I'm all in a rush and I'm so anxious. Finally, it occurred to me just a few years ago that I take anxiety as my natural state of being from the childhood in this life. And without that anxiety, I don't have a uh, um, a connection to who I am. Like, who am I without that anxiety? So I'm dealing very face to face with that, a lot of stuff. But that's a main one that when I give it up, when I get ready earlier, when I tell Baba, okay, I'm going to start getting ready earlier, I'm going to be without the anxiety, I can feel the fear comes up. I want to grab that anxiety back and have that as my identification. So I'll end with that because I'm in those throes of letting go and also wanting to grab it back so that even though it's painful, I feel safer with the old stuff. So I'll close with that.
And you kind of feel like Baba's been working with you on this, trying to kind of manage this
Oh
part of
yes, because my faith, when my faith is questioned, or the Baba's with me all the time, I tell Baba, I said, I don't feel you're here. Where in the heck are you? You know? So when I'm losing my faith, it brings me closer to Baba because I'll complain about it. And then I'll know, okay, I know you'll never let me down. I know you're there guiding me through this. This is tough stuff. I don't see any way out of this. And then I'll hear, you belong to me. You belong to me. And then I know, okay, the tools will come up or a situation. It's just happened recently. I won't go into the story where I just, was so because I had expectations about somebody in my family and it wasn't turning out. And I tried to give up these expectations, but it really takes, being with Baba. So I don't want to keep going on and on about that. But I know, I have a knowing, even if I'm not experiencing it in the moment, that I am never abandoned, but I feel like it. Okay.
excellent. Yeah. Anyone else want to go out there and, well, maybe I'll do something here.
Shri, that's right.
Oh, Shri. Okay, good.
I think one of my biggest weaknesses is when things are going really well, it's easy to be like, oh, yay, Baba is always looking out for you and everything's all happy and wonderful. But I think one of my biggest weaknesses is not having enough faith in him when things aren't happening the way that I want them to. And I mean that not in like an ultimate sense, like I ultimately know that he has all of us and he's protecting all of us and he loves all of us. But I think having more faith in him in like the day-to-day struggles of everything um, is an area that I struggle a lot in. And I think I'm going to paraphrase, but he has this one quote where he's like, if you worry, then it means you don't really believe in me. Because if you believed in me, then you'd know that everything's going to end up all fine all the time, and that you're taken care of. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, but I think that's probably one of the areas I struggle the most with him.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of deal with, we're kind of treading on thin ice a little bit at times. And even though things work out, but your imagination doesn't guarantee you that things are going to work out. Sometimes, it's anything could happen is the way the imagination says it. But yeah, well, let's go on and we'll see. Maybe we'll hear things that that relate directly to some of our weaknesses and worries.
Peter.
Hi, everybody. I didn't want to have Jeff be all alone in this because I saw no hands raised, so I decided to raise my hand, although I prefer always. Jeff, is this current weaknesses or is this past weaknesses that you want?
Either.
Okay,
It's kind of how Baba has helped you with a particular weakness, or
right.
at least not necessarily to overcome it, but at least to bring it to something that's more manageable, when previously it might have been really rocked your boat, repeatedly.
Right. It's actually, I recently patted myself in the back because I thought about in my spiritual life in this lifetime, what has been overcome. And I was going to pick one. But first of all, it's like I had a so-called drug addiction. I was in addiction to alcohol, addiction to drugs. Those were overcome. Mehera Baba was my introduction when I gave up drugs. And then I had an attachment to debting, compulsive debting. I had an attachment to overspending. Both those have been dealt with. I had an attachment to thinking I knew what's best for everybody else. Thank God that was also let go for the most part. And I remember, though, what I was going to specifically bring up is right before I came to Mehera Baba, right before I got clean, I was doing Amway. A friend of mine got me into Amway, and we were supposed to get other people into Amway. And I was like, y'all don't want to be rich? What is your problem? What is your malfunction? Why don't people want to get rich? I thought it was like, what's going on here? And then I read Mehera Baba's literature, and he said, to paraphrase, some people are rich, some people are poor, some people are tall, some people are short, some people are fat, some people are skinny, some people are ugly, beautiful, whatever. They go through all these experiences of life. And it was an aha moment that not everybody wants to have what I want to have. And to me, that was one of the weaknesses, thinking that everybody was like me, or thinking everybody was foolish if you didn't have the same desires as I had. And I'm going to try to put this in words, because this is something I struggle with tremendously now, is sometimes when I don't think I'm loved, I feel like a leper. And when I put it through a more of a rational loop, I realize that in many respects, I have been welcomed and I've rejected the welcome. And I think much of it has to do with this weakness of thinking I am simply unworthy. And I'm sure many, many, many people go through this. However, that this is like my turn, and one of my journeys is to let go of the feeling or the thought, belief of unworthiness. When I'm around people, I'm so rejecting oftentimes of some kind of attention. And it's tough right now to put it in perspective in front of 34 people. It is a judgment in a way. It's in a way of okay, here's an example of something. Not being able to accept other people is when I was asking a friend of mine who's a chef to help me have a meal plan. I put out in front of her, she says, "What foods do you normally eat?" And she said to me, "Peter, you are such a picky eater." I'm like, really? I had no idea I'm a picky eater, because many of the foods were off the table based on my health. And I think when it comes to other people, I have a really strong intolerance to others in a way. And when I go back to myself, I had a much different, very, very vague vision of my life. And part of my weakness is non-self-acceptance. Part of my weakness is judgmentalism toward myself. It's bad. And part of what I'm learning to accept is everything happened for a reason. Everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, or that Well, what I want to do is, my wish, I want to put on a frame so I can read it daily. That's something I'd say I'm struggling with now, is gaining a sense of worthiness. A sense of worthiness. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, I mean, how does, how do you, how is Bob, do you feel Bob is working with you on that feeling of unworthiness?
There is, I'm just gonna go out of the Zoom screen for a moment to get a book, but I'll have a finger or a hand here because there is there's several different ways. One way is, I'm in an organization known as Debtors Anonymous. Some people know it, most people don't. They work toward, I'm working toward fulfilling some of my divine vision. There's also a book, maybe some people need to know about this. It's called Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. Just came out. She works with uncovering people's worthiness. And also a very, very powerful tool is mirror work, which is looking at thyself in the mirror, directly in the eye, and saying, I love you. What I've been doing is, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, is repeating Bob's discourse of I love you in the mirror, right in the eye. And I envision myself as being Baba, saying to Peter and little Peter, like the little boy Peter, I love you. And saying it in the eye, I love you. Saying in the eye, I forgive you. Telling my father I forgive him for being as sick and deranged, my mother, and whatever kind of messages. And in the morning, when I wake up, saying, I am worthy, as with whatever kind of vibrancy I can. And the list goes on as far as what other auto suggestions can be given. It's about, I think, disciplining myself to say it with force and emotionalism in order to get it through the rock-like skull that Peter has. I'll pass.
Yeah, beautiful. No, really. I mean, that's one of Baba's jobs. And over the years, so many people come here to the center who suffer from unworthiness of one form or another. I mean, it's comes with the territory of growing up anywhere. There's always, people are always finding fault with you, you're always falling short, whatever. And it's one of the major challenges, I would say.
Oh, Jeff, can I throw one more thing that just occurred to me? Is I have I want to say a deranged habit of blaming Baba. Because when I look at the real treasure, some people say, oh, just blame Baba for it. It's all him. He's the only one that exists. Where some of the Mandali will say, don't blame Baba. It's not Baba's fault. Part of my issue is being mad at him. And it's a bad, bad habit. I get enraged at him and blame him for my choices. And I feel like you want to smile and laugh about that.
Yeah.
So I don't have an answer except for just keep on doing what I'm doing, and sooner or later it'll change.
I think everybody here is laying into Baba and sworn to blue streak at Baba at some point or another, really. And I think Baba gets a kick out of it, of myself. I mean, I yell out at Baba, when things kind of go awry.
The thing is, Jeff, I'm making a career out of it, and it's one thing I don't want to make a career out of it more. It's just that bottom line. It's like a career I want to end at some point. I just want to put that out to the Zoom people out there. I'm hoping to end the career, and it'll be done whenever it's done. The work is being put in, and the career will be over whenever he deems it to be over.
Yeah, but I think being so open about this is is a lot of the battle. Yeah, well, next on the roster.
Rich.
What Peter was talking about, a long time ago, this started for me a long time ago, but it was in stages, right? And this stuff, you have to allow stuff to emerge so you can face it. And then what are you going to do with it? But a long time ago, I decided that no one is responsible for my sanskars except me. To me, that's what God speaks says in a psychological way. And I just kept acknowledging that. And it sort of took root eventually. I still can go back and say, why did they fire me? You know, what, but, and I can analyze it and all that, but ultimately I have to say my karma, my sanskaras, and of course, Baba is trying to put us on the fast train to him. But what's happened recently is something pretty new for me. And I have to admit this, but I think I've always had a negative view of other people, probably my ego, feeling, self-deprecating or just a lack of overall self-love or respect. But I just kept thinking of all the negative things that people are about, and this and that and this and that. And recently, and I'm just kind of starting this, but I recently, just out of the blue, was like, there's a lot of really great people in the world. If I enjoy a movie, someone had a lot of work to do to create that movie, tremendous amount of work. Well, that's a lot of talent, a lot of investment, and some pretty creative sanskars, and I don't have it. But so it's like, man, there's a lot of really good people in the world besides what you see maybe on TV or the news or hear about in your neighborhood or whatever. But I'm surrounded by a lot of good people in my neighborhood. I'm very fortunate. Baba just put me here. I have no worries about living here. It's almost idyllic. But the truth is that I have to change my attitude about the real ability of people to be good, to be positive, to be uplifting, to be happy. And I got a long way to go on that happy thing.
Very good. No, great challenge.
Meher.
What about politicians? No, I won't bring that up. No. Okay, well, next.
Meher Sagar.
Yeah. So for me, all along in my life, whenever I face with my weaknesses, there are two messages of Baba that always were flung at me by Baba himself. I used to come across them by happenstance or whatever it is, right? Whenever I would feel worried about my weakness, and I would love to read those messages, which are very reassuring. The one message I always found very reassuring was, do not worry about your weaknesses. Eventually they will go. Even if they linger, love will one day consume them. Everything disappears in the ocean of love. And then he follows it up by saying, because I love you, you have a pool of love within you. When you feel wretched, when you fall in your weakness, have a dip in that pool of love. These two messages really reverberate with me, and then they are very reassuring on a personal basis.
Yeah, those are two of the most beautiful messages and assurances from Baba. Yeah. What do you do about your brother, though, when he kind of acts out? And no, I'm just joking. Okay. All the way from Germany.
Sabine.
And 4:30 in the morning. So I hope I get it together. It's not my strong thinking time. So I belong to another Baba group in the UK, and all of them are really fantastic painters. You know, they come to a meeting and show pictures of Baba, you know, they've painted this afternoon. And I always get so discouraged because I can't paint to save my life. I cannot do anything in that line. So one evening after the meeting, I was feeling a bit flat. Somebody had shown a beautiful picture of Baba, and I was sitting there, you know, thinking, can't do that. And then Baba says, look at that website. Somehow I found myself looking at this website of a painting teacher, and I thought, what am I doing here, Baba? And she had a tab at the top where she had sujets that you could copy. You could print it off and copy it. And so I was scrolling through these animal prints. They were very simple, you know. And when I come to the bottom of about 30 animals, Baba says to me, I want you to paint a picture for me. And my heart sunk, and I thought, oh no, Baba, you know, I can't, you know, kind of a stick man for me, but that's about it. And he said, I want a butterfly. So I thought, yeah, okay, I probably just about manage a butterfly. And then he said, and then I want a turtle. And I thought, a turtle, okay, yeah, I probably can stretch to a turtle. And then I want a flamingo. A flamingo, but those were all sujets that I had just scrolled through. So I thought, yeah, I could probably copy that flamingo. Didn't look too difficult. And then I want a giraffe. And I thought, okay, a giraffe. We're getting a zoo here, Baba. And then he said, finally, I want a pig. So I said, okay, we do it. I go in for it. You know, you said you want a picture, so I'm trying my best. So I copied the sujets, and for a month, every evening, Baba would remind me that I hadn't painted today, that I hadn't worked on the pictures, not on the copying or in the coloring in. And so I did. And, you know, after a few days, I realized, God, this is such fun to do it for Baba. I really, really enjoyed it. And so after months, I put it all together, and I realized it was also not just about enjoying doing something for Baba, but also overcoming myself, just not being proud. It doesn't have to be perfect. If Baba asks me to do it, I just do it. And I have to stop being so, is the word precious about myself? So here's the picture. I don't know if you can see it. I would sort of bring it close. So you have a, what's here? So you have a butterfly in the middle.
Beautiful.
And the pig. So you start with Baba's, and you have a giraffe.
Oh,
Wow, that's fantastic.
wow. Fantastic.
Oh, bravo. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And
And
you
so
know what?
playful too.
And that
Yeah,
photograph. And that photograph is the one that was in Baba's tomb at the back, you know, right in the Baba's tomb for probably 30 years, 20 or 30 years, for the longest time.
wow.
That was the photograph that greeted you when you went into the tomb.
I had no idea. You know, a friend from England had sent me a few pictures of Baba. This was in the very early days when I didn't know how to get pictures of Baba. So she kindly sent me some. And when he said he wanted a picture, I thought, well, you have to be in it. You know, I'm not going through this without you. So I just, you know, this felt right. And at that point, I wasn't even aware that Baba would do signs. I thought it was like music, you know, it was sort of directing something with his fingers. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Wow. There's a like perfect demonstration of how a weakness or a, you know, just got overcome by just being open to what he was asking.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron?
And then you can show that at the next Zoom meeting in England.
Yeah, I showed it to them the
Oh,
next
you
time
did?
I had a meeting. This is years back.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
It's not recent.
Oh,
I wanted to respond to something that Peter reminded me of, because he listed a lot of weaknesses that I have also experienced. But one of them, and I think this was one of the ones that Peter said, but this is kind of a fun thing that Baba did with me once. I had a terrible habit of thinking I could help people by, well, to put it very bluntly, fixing some of the things, some of the problems that they were having. And that got me into trouble a lot. It didn't fly well. I don't know that it does for anybody, but it certainly didn't for me. And people would get angry at me. You know, I meant well, but it was just wrong. And eventually I got the idea that it might be better if I stopped doing that. And it really came home to me one day. I was at my office, and it just struck me that I don't have to do that anymore. They can take care of themselves. You know, what am I accomplishing by trying to fix somebody? And so I concluded that I wasn't going to do it. And so I turned to Baba and I said, Baba, I am not going to criticize anybody anymore or tell them that they're doing something wrong. So I'm just letting you know that that's what I'm going to do or not going to do. And Baba then responded rather quickly, and he said, well, Ron, what if I want you to do that? Are you saying you're not going to do it? And so you just can't kind of make up your own rules. That's not the way spirituality works. And so that was one of the things. But I wanted to add to my first comment, which was about the tricks of Maya. And one of the many books that Baba has sent to help me on this journey was by C.S. Lewis. I mean, quite a few of his books, but this one in particular, that is, I would say, the handbook of Maya. It's called the Screwtape Letters. And in that book, he goes into all kinds of different ways that a tempter, which is like a lower echelon devil, will have I think they call them a patient, and will try to get that person to succumb to his weaknesses. And this guy Screwtape writes some letters as to how to do it. So we find out how they do it. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is the way it would be done. And that is very helpful to know some of those tricks. So I recommend it if you have a chance. It's called the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis.
I think a number of people have read it for sure.
Good.
Tony, you had your hand showing and then it has disappeared. Ah, there it is. Okay.
I was just okay. I was responding to Sabine's story about Baba asking her to paint something, and that connected for me. You know, as you all know who were here for my saga, Baba gave me a very big story to tell. And I knew he wanted me to tell it. It's been years, and I had the feeling it's supposed to be a movie and all this stuff. And I put out a book about it in a verse version, and nothing was feeling right, and nothing was, and my head was just going in all. And it dawned on me that there was indeed something I was supposed to write, but it was much bigger than that little thing I thought. But I kept getting in the way and saying, yeah, but if I do this, well, if I say that, okay, but if I'm going to tell this, then I have to do it this way. And I suddenly realized that Baba was constantly giving me writing prompts, directions on what to focus on, where to go from here. And I was stopping and questioning all of them and tying myself into knots and all sorts. And I I guess it's 71, all right. Young for some of us here, older for others. I don't have time to waste on that kind of poop anymore. And so I just decided I will discipline myself to at least put in an hour or so every day and let Baba just take it wherever he wants to take it. And some days are better than others. I was off for 3 weeks because of Mercury retrograde. I started again yesterday, and today I did like 5 hours. And it's not at all what I was thinking of writing. In stepping back and letting Baba direct the whole thing, it's like, oh, this is stuff, and I'm having fun telling, sharing. It's real stuff, but it's about people, lots of different people, and which brings kind of full circle to the question of weaknesses. The clarity I think that I've got at this point in my life, that we all have weaknesses, we all have strengths, we can dedicate them to Baba and all that, but the only real core weakness I think that Baba is concerned about with me is being absorbed with myself, being absorbed with my weaknesses, being absorbed with my strengths, being absorbed what he might want me to do or not want me to, but and it's just F it. Let it all go. Stop thinking about me. Do what you think Baba wants and keep going. And if it's not that, trust that he's going to direct it elsewhere. So I have found the real weakness that I need to deal with is dealing with weaknesses.
And strengths.
Well, and strengths.
Yeah.
But
that's beautiful, very insightful. Yeah, I think we're all in some ways addicted to the bottle of self-preoccupation. But Baba's going to wean us away. He's going to take that bottle away. Go ahead. Oh.
Right, Prasad.
Yeah, I think the biggest way that Baba has helped, in my case is, and I'm sure this is true for all of us here, is bringing awareness of the weaknesses that we have before coming to Baba. That awareness didn't even exist. And after coming to him, I think there is more awareness of those weaknesses. But it's in the honeymoon days when that awareness was there, you have a intelligent action to do. So the impression during that time was that all those weaknesses have gone away. But over time, I realized that not only have they not gone away, but more of such things and many other things are actually lurking below, and they'll keep coming up again and again and again. And some of these I don't even realize because they are so deep rooted, which I can't even see until Baba really makes me see them through some very painful process that I might have to go through. Like, for example, there may be some deep rooted attachment that I can't see, but he'll take that away and that will come to the surface. That's an example. But I don't think I can list all the weaknesses because that'll take up not only rest of this late night chat, but all the future late night chats. But the one big thing certainly that bugs me all the time is the inability to really wholeheartedly accept situations as his will. Intellectually, I know that it is his will, but really wholeheartedly accepting it and cheerfully and joyfully taking that as his will is, I think, the biggest weakness. If I can fix that weakness, all other weaknesses would automatically disappear, I think.
Beautiful. Yeah. There's that quote of Baba's where he says, and this took me some years back. I mean, it really kind of sobered me up, where Baba said, when the intensity of your faith in me reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Now, this is the line. Then all that you have suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with what you may enjoy in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will. And you will never suffer worry again, something like that. But I read that line. I thought, I'm not taking everything as the most spontaneous and loving expression of Baba's will. I'm definitely not. I had to think, wow. I mean, I had things that were Baba's loving and the spontaneous will, and then there's all this other stuff that wasn't. So it's a great challenge to bring those two together, to accept. I mean, he's asking, can you accept everything as Baba's most loving and spontaneous expression of his will? I mean, that is a monumental challenge. That's what I discovered. Baba kind of sobered me up with that. Anyway, we got another person in line here.
Elizabeth.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
So this is a hard one to talk about because who wants to talk about their weaknesses for one? But I actually have this triad of weaknesses. I was just thinking about it. I thought it's really a triad. It's about discernment. So the first one is lack of really good discernment. That's the first weakness. And the second would be when you're having something going on with another person, personal conflict or agitation or whatever, and you're being accused of having a weakness. Well, the thing is, sometimes it's hard to know if the weakness is your own or if the weakness is from the other person. And not being able to discern that is a weakness in and of itself. And, I should change that to I, involved with relationships that just go haywire and you don't know why it has or what caused it, out of the blue, whatever. And you don't know if I really am the one who's exhibiting a weakness or doing something wrong or whatever, or if the other person's perception is that. And how to discern which it is and how do you respond. And I was talking to a friend earlier today, a Baba lover, and she was saying, you really have to stop thinking what's in the other person's mind. You can't know that. The only thing you can do is be responsible for what you yourself are thinking or doing. And she was suggesting the way of Prim. She didn't put it that way. But anyway, I find that extremely difficult. And I really dislike any kind of confrontation, agitation, whatever. I want all relationships to be smooth and flowing and loving and all of that. And I like to think of myself as that way. So of course, if somebody does not think of you like that, you're kind of like, what? And so it's very difficult. And I'd love to hear any insights on the discernment process. Thank you.
Hey, we'll leave that on the table. Yeah. No, that's I mean, these are like major challenges in our life. Yeah. It looks like I'm maybe I'll share something from me. Let's see. This is kind of, I mean, one of the things that I was thinking of is I used to have a pathological fear of public speaking. And, but I've already talked about that. So, but I thought of another one that is like being the critical or judgmental of others. And, back in my college days, I mean, I grew up in the Northwest and things were very kind of wholesome and everything. And then I went to college in New York City, and that was the way people behaved was kind of shocking and a violation of my most cherished values. And I had a very difficult time I've always had problems with ignorant authority. And then these professors at this, where I was going to college, they had no personal interest in us. And so I had a whole lot of that going on. And I wasn't like really confronting people, but I was feeling it on the inside. Then, shifting years later, I found myself working at the center. Now that just doesn't work here. I mean, here the guests are coming. And I thought Baba, would gather all the cream of the crop of humanity here at the center. And I found out kind of quickly that it's a cross section of humanity. In fact, I remember Erich used to say that the sign that you're in the darbar or court of the avatar is all of humanity is represented, from scoundrel to saint, from miser to philanthropist, from empath to narcissist. Everyone is here. And so I realized that I had to really change my approach with people. I mean, to be critical of people here in this loving atmosphere is just like, it's like a teacher, using profanity in a kindergarten class. I mean, it just, it doesn't resonate there. It's improper. And so this is what Baba did, he got on my case about imposing my values on other people, my standards of behavior, my my ethics and everything. I had to not do that. And I would say that, I mean, it's like I'm like like a waiter in my own restaurant. I mean, you have to be pleasant. I mean, that's this is a place where I had to learn how to not let that interfere. And so it took me about 20 years with Baba kind of prodding me to give up my expectations of how other people should behave. And I mean, sometimes it plain hurt, but I just made an effort. And what happened is after all these years, an unexpected consequence happened, is that he didn't eliminate my fault finding and judgmentalness, but he softened that whole thing. And I found, I wasn't expecting, but people, well, like when our heart goes out towards somebody and we sense some sarcasm or criticalness or judgmentalness, our heart will only go out so far because it feels a little bit unsafe. But in doing this and softening that judgmental side of me, I found that people, that their heart could come out farther and farther. And I actually got the best. People were giving me their best. Very often their very best. People who might have been kind of crotchety with other people, might have been kind of curmudgeons with other people, they were, because their heart was kind of safe. So that was the unexpected benefit of Baba working all these years on trying to eliminate so you know, the criticalness and everything. So so like I say, that's a particular weakness I had in myself that I found Baba helped me immensely in that over decades. So that, and I mean, for example, if somebody comes to me and they say that they're cheating on their wife. Now, in the past, I would like, you know, I would react. But now I say, okay, that's the situation. This is where that person, that's the situation they're in. What can we do to make this situation better? You know, rather than just slapping on a judgment, you know, how can we work with this in a way that is going to truly be helpful to the situation and all the people concerned? So I was able to get more into where people are rather than my reaction to where they're at, and kind of give up my reaction and get into where they are. So that's an example of my one of the weaknesses that Baba himself was immensely helpful in.
Rich. Rich, you are on mute.
I can attest to what Jeff has been sharing there, because I've seen him in action enough. I haven't lived near the center, but all of my visits somehow seem to incorporate time spent with Jeff and others there. But Jeff always handled me like I was included, and for me that was a privilege and a pleasure, and it was really thoughtful and heartfelt, Jeff. But I was gonna actually say something about these faults that we all perceive we have, because we have them, you know. But as close as I can come to what Baba said about really dealing with all that is I don't know how to say this. Jeff could say this so well, but in really trying to love Baba or remember Baba as you're moving through any experience, whether it's intellectual, anxiety, or emotional. And my thought started here when Anne Elizabeth was talking, but I've always been really wanting to withdraw if anybody was critical of me at all, you know, that kind of thing. But I've learned to take some of that criticism and go, they have a point of view, so there's something that they're talking about. But what's my idea of that, you know? But then it occurred to me in that thought that Baba really said, these things, as you love me, will be transmuted into the avatar. And I think this is an overwhelming idea for me, that we're really we have a new life because Baba has included us in his avataric consciousness. And that's new for us. It's like, that's new. You had to be really close to Jesus to get anything like that out of that guy, right? He was pretty stingy. So Baba is very generous. So he just says, come on along. And I guarantee you that those are the least of your worries. Learning about how to live in this illusion with me is what it's about. And I know you do that, Jeff. That's what you do. It's pretty remarkable, because I can't really do it that well.
You can, and you do more than you think, but but these are things that Baba works with on us, and and they really make our life more full of joy and harmony and everything. But it's, yeah. I mean, actually getting to know human nature, there's a line from Thomas à Kempis, who was a Christian mystic, where he said, if you knew all, you would forgive all. And it does help to know people more and more deeply so that you can understand why they do what they do. And that helps immensely, rather than why is that person behaving like that? We just aren't large enough to know why they do. Anyway, we got
Peter. Peter.
Yes, hi. I don't know if this, to respond to what Elizabeth said, I don't know if this would be of any help at all. Just to touch base with Elizabeth for a moment, were you talking about a weakness being like judging other people's thoughts, or thinking you're reading other people's thoughts and being affected by other people's perceived thoughts of you? I'm thinking about other people's reactions to me that throw me for a loop, like something I never intended or wouldn't even be inside of me. And it's just usually negative, in this case. And my not understanding that, nor how to respond, nor having the discernment to know, is this really something inside of me? Or, I mean, is this true what this person said? And it's discernment. I should be able to be more discerning and be able to separate the two. And I find that very hard sometimes, especially when things are emotional, meaning there's a high level of energy associated with whatever the interaction is. That's what I meant. Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm not sure if this will be, like, is it helpful at all, but trying to read what you said and maybe translate a little bit. When I look at the 4 agreements, one thing it said is don't take anything personally. Now, people share that with me, and I'm like, on what planet do you think I can't take things personally? It ain't gonna happen. It's like, it's impossible for me. Usually it's impossible for me not to take things personally unless it is so obvious to me that what I said was relatively rational and loving, and the other person's perspective is really off the wall. It's like maybe the only time I can't take it too personally. However, based on what Mayor Baba said, we're all connected, we're all one. What someone else said, we're all energy that vibrates particular frequencies. Christy Marie Sheldon talks about us being light workers. And when I look at myself with what I do, with the energy I bring, with the energy that Baba brings through me, I consider myself sarcastically to be a trigger man, to be, let's just say, someone that very easily can trigger people. Oftentimes, I don't know I'm triggering people. I don't know what I say triggers people. And what has been a really huge pet peeve, a really big difficulty for me, is when I do or say something and people have just ignore me. They just go in the other direction. I've taken a page out of the 4 agreements and challenged to, as lovingly as I possibly can do, go up to the person, text them, communicate with them in some way and say, did anything I say offend you? Were you off-putted? Because sometimes people are there one moment and they just leave. And I say, but did I do something wrong? Did I do something maybe not wrong, but offensive or off-putting? And I'll say, when we communicate, roughly 50% of the time, it had nothing to do with me. 50% of the time, or let's just say it could have been a misinterpretation. And another time, yeah, I did something that was off-putting to them. However, it's also happened, and this is the bane of my existence, when I've done something and people shut down communication, and as nicely as I could, I brought it up to them or text them, and I've gotten 0 response. And I don't know if you have any idea how triggering this is for me. When I've tried to communicate with somebody, and these are people in spiritual communities, where if they came up to me, say, did I do something, I'd like to put in the effort to, as tenderly, as lovingly as possible, tell them, what they may have done, which was offensive or triggering for me. And I would like the same in response, but oftentimes I get zero. And it is so disturbing to me. And as I talk to a spiritual mentor, they'll say it has zero to do with you. I said, well, no, I don't buy that zero stuff, because we're all connected. We all are energy. So I at least have 1% to do with it. I did something that caused them to detach. So Baba and me had something to do with it. The energy that I'm putting out has something to do with it, period. What I do, how to handle that, I have maybe just as much difficulty as you do. And oftentimes the answer is, when I can remember, blow them love them in some way, blow them love, the heart energy, put it to them. And I want to say it's for me, so I'm not as disturbed. However, it's also an act of service, because when I am, I'm just thinking of Stuart's meditation. I mean, I don't talk to Stuart, but thinking his meditation is in when I'm disturbed, when I can remember, put the love in their direction. And that does not just service for me, but service for them too. And that's like a big, big, big pet peeve I have with Mehera Baba, because this happens regularly all the time. I don't like doing it. I don't like spending my time blowing love at them. But the thing is, what other choice is there? It's either the choice of just being upset all the time and doing nothing about it, just being pissed, or attempting to get back to center, to get into a loving place by choosing to send them love. And often another difficulty or challenge is that it needs to be sent on a regular basis, sometimes in order for the disturbance to be extinguished. And I just forget oftentimes until I get triggered over again. I'm like, oh, darn it, gotta send them love, gotta send them all over again. And the merry-go-round just keeps on going. It's like a Ferris wheel merry-go-round that I don't know how to get off of. And I do, as triggering as this may sound to people, I do resent Mehera Baba for it, because I don't particularly care for the interaction. But again, it's a choice between being sort of a victim about it or doing something proactive about it. And I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Yeah. And that proactive effort you're making, I feel Bob would be very pleased with that, even though it's not fun. I mean, it's work, but you are actively doing, something of love for Baba, even though you'd rather be kind of more relaxed than just, that effort you're making is, I mean, I found in my own life, I mean, that's a lot of life is doing that type of thing, where you're misinterpreted, people just don't see they're not seeing you for who you are, and yet you got this disharmony, and it's there in your environment, and you have to work with it. You may not be able to approach them. It could get worse, so you have to do it from your side. I mean, I don't know. I found a lot of life is that. But it's getting a little bit late. We got a couple more folks here.
Deborah.
Deborah? Oh, yeah, there she is.
And thank you so much, Jeff, for hosting this
Yeah.
interesting topic. I think Baba has made the weaknesses really important part of his work with us, because the whole idea that it gives us something to work on. And I think the trick is to not allow our failures to create a wedge in our relationship with Baba. I recently gave up nicotine after trying for so many years. It's like one of my favorite things since I was a teenager. And it was because I had read, Baba had said, if you try, I will help you. And I can promise you that it gets a little bit easier, but the cravings continue. I mean, this was maybe going on 8 or 9 months, and it's a real struggle. to stay away. But I also know that that Baba has somehow magically made that happen. Part of my need to get rid of that was like, when I leave this body, when I pass away, I don't want to take that craving with me in case there aren't any stores where I'm going, so I had to give that up. But I read something just now when Baba talks about weaknesses. He said, I bring out weaknesses because I love you. Be honest. Weaknesses are there. You should not be afraid of them. You should be afraid of dishonesty. Who doesn't get bad thoughts? They are the foundation of life. No house can stand without its foundation. Thoughts may be best or worst, but one should take care of one's actions. Had it not been for the weaknesses in everyone, there would have been no difference between me and you. So they're created,
Beautiful quote. Yeah.
create that distinction. So
Beautiful quote. Yeah, that's a wonderful quote from Baba.
thank you very much, Jeff.
Yeah. Alan, he's called you.
I'm hearing a bunch of sounds. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's just those are just happening in your head. There's no sounds. I mean, no.
um, yeah, I think that maybe somebody was talking about it, but the fact that of when they first came to Baba and the honeymoon, and just like there's still that. I just feel that coming to Baba, just recognizing him within myself, is a sustained note. It's like a sustained current that is the golden thread through all of the things that I experience, all of the things that are positive and negative, beautiful and ugly, and including the judgments I have about other people and about myself. I just can't stop. Like sometimes with Baba, I just am very, I'm like, if this is who I am, if I'm this judgmental, if I'm going to say like, I can't believe this freaking guy did this thing to me, then I'm going to say it to him. Like, I just need to be honest with him. And the more that I have that honesty and less of for myself, I think when I first came to Baba, I felt like I really was very ashamed of a lot of the things that were coming up, that he was boiling to the surface. And I was like, that cannot be like part of me. That's not who I am. That's not, I'm a spiritual person. but now I feel like it's just the boil is just getting turned up higher and higher. It's just getting worse and worse. And yet the sustained note, it doesn't take away the pain, like someone was saying, is the craving or all those things are still very present. And even worse, I feel them even more on fire in myself every day, all the time. And yet I'll find myself, with like at work with somebody with the most infuriating personality. And I'm just in my head, I'm just, going off. I'm like, I can't handle this. This person is taking it to a level 10. And it's really, I'm just trying to have a conversation. And I'm like, there's no way. All right, Baba, I'm going to lose it now. That's it. I'm going to lose it on this person. That's fine. And the second I answer, I just say his name. The second I answer the phone, what comes out is, hey, Tom, how you doing? Yeah, no, I get it. It's rough, right? And it just changes. It just somehow, because I'm like, I literally am like, I can't do this right now. As Alan, I am right now, I'm going to be a total, mean person. And I need you, Bob. Like, I don't even know how to hold on to you. I don't know any of this, all the things you told me, all the memories I had, all the loving moments I've had with you, they're gone. And this is what's here. And now I'm going to answer the phone and, hey, yeah, I know I think we're having a miscommunication, and I don't even know how it's happening. And I'm surprised in the moment as it's happening. And I'm just enjoying that. Oh, okay. I can just kind of be this is just, I can kind of just be, it's okay that I might be having these feelings and thoughts. And I think that forgiveness is more and more coming into place with me and Baba, but I don't forgive myself. To be quite honest with you, I don't know how to. I really don't know how to do a lot of these things. And Jeff, you sharing about the, just over the years of working with people, I need to have a separate conversation with you about that, because just the softening of not having that critical judgment in the, and of course when one says this, I think we don't want to say this out loud, because then people perceive you as being something that we don't want to talk about. But it's like, hell, come on, we're all doing this. So I don't care how smiley we are. It's like, but we can feel like with you Jeff, I really feel you as an authentic, just, you've really had a lot of patience with me. and I and I haven't met a lot of people like that really have listened, to where maybe, I could feel my heart softening, like you were saying. I do feel that with you, and with people that can work with that, or Bob has given them that grace to do so. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, that's to be honest, it's I don't know about if my weaknesses are going away, or if they're just getting more intense, and I just have to hold on to him more and more. and it's okay, and he's there. He's right here. It's right here. It's in the now. There's nowhere else he is. He is right here as I'm alive, in whatever moment I'm experiencing, no matter how ugly I feel I am, or beautiful, or whatever it is. Like, and that's, I think, the only saving grace of the fine thread, with me and Baba. Yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said. And if you didn't have the weaknesses and shortcomings and everything, you wouldn't have much empathy for others. So I mean, they are they have great value. Otherwise, you would, there's the Zen saying, fish cannot swim in pure water. Fish cannot live in pure water. You know what I mean? So I mean, those things that you experience just help you to be more forgiving and more connected with other people. If everything was smooth, there's one person on the center now who grew up in a Baba family, grew up and everything, and she didn't do all of the terrible things that we've done, and so winds up kind of being critical, like why are people acting like this? Well, a lot of us, especially in the hippie era, we did a whole lot of those things, and we can understand, why people behave this way, and there's a little bit more of a empathy and an actual understanding. So I'm just saying that weaknesses are not all bad. And then what I wrote there is that realization comes not when all your weaknesses are gone. It comes right in the midst of strengths and weaknesses. And being detached from our weaknesses rather than overcoming them, not taking them so seriously. Oh, hey, good.
Emmy?
Hey, Emmy, yeah.
Hi. I'm in the dark.
Yeah.
But I
Looks
just
like
wanted
yeah.
I look like what?
You look like you're you've opened the door just a little bit and you're looking at us. Go ahead. Yeah.
So as soon as I saw the email, I immediately thought of Pam Rubinstein's song. And she always quotes Baba in her songs, but I didn't realize that the entire song is the quote that Peter put in the chat. And I just want to read the quote because it's just
Good.
so
Perfect.
powerful.
And then we'll have a few moments of silence. Yeah.
Okay. I love you. Don't worry about your weaknesses. Eventually they will go. Even if they linger, love will one day consume them. Everything disappears in the ocean of love. Because I love you, you have a pool of love within you. When you feel wretched, when you fall in your weakness, have a dip in that pool of love. Refresh yourself in that pool of my love within you. It is always there. Even if you wash your weaknesses every day in that pool, it will remain clear. Don't worry. Baba loves you. That is what really matters. Avatar Meher Baba.
Beautiful. Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Thank you all for sharing so beautifully. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the topic, Jeff. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Peter, for sharing. I mean, this is, yeah. And it's nice to hear from, because we're all kind of dealing with many of the same challenges. The universe hasn't singled you out. It's the only one.
Sorry, I don't believe it.
I like what the depth of what Meher Prasad, the way he expressed the difficulty of dealing with stuff coming up. That was
Yeah.
pretty profound.
Yeah. No, you folks really speak beautifully. I'm just, and being able to do it is helpful to other people. Yeah, I feel. And even, Johannes and Sabine, even at 5:30 in the morning now, you guys are still.
Yay! But I'm fighting today, I have to say. I really need to go back to bed now.
Yeah, you go back to bed. You deserve it.
See you next week.
But these other people don't. They really stay up and meditate through the night. Anyway, good. Much love, all of you. And you have a nice week. And we'll see what happens next week. If you ever have any ideas, of a topic, I mean, I kind of, that would be, that people could, relate to, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. We'll try to fill it up. Yeah.
I wanted to pitch for Ward Parks. He's doing that, the Australian, he's doing the Australian Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Sundays and Fridays.
I've tried to get Ward, and I don't know if I can succeed now, but Baba's niece, Shireen, she gave an unbelievable talk Saturday night. It'll come on the Baba weekly center thing. I mean, very humorous and very touching how Baba related to this little 7-year-old girl. Well, the interesting thing is that this was maybe she was 7 years old, and this is kind of in this late 60s. She was going to go see Baba, her uncle. And before they left, Adi Jr., who was, Baba's brother, younger brother, told her for the first time, I haven't told you, but your uncle is God. And is Jesus come again? I mean, she hadn't told her at all. I mean, she was so thrilled. Oh, my uncle is God himself. Jesus come again. I mean, can you imagine? You wait till 7 years old, child to 7. I mean, all that time he's their loving uncle, and now suddenly he is gone. Jesus come return. And she was so happy. Oh my God. And she got one of her girlfriends in school, and they wrote out some questions to ask. My uncle is God. Let's ask him some questions. And they came up with some good questions. But and Baba, I mean Adi Jr., her father gave all these instructions. Now you just don't, don't hug Baba, just be kind of respectful, don't be noisy and everything like that. When she got there to Merazad, came in the door, Baba, she had a garland she was holding, and Baba just opened up his arms to her, and she just dropped the garland and ran right into Baba's arms. And her mom and her dad is like, "Oh God, you're just jumping on him." And she could not. I mean, she was there for 2 months. She could not. All she wanted to do was be with Baba. I mean, she just couldn't. She had so much fun with him. I mean, she'd go in his bedroom and just sit up on his bed and just sit there and talk with him. I mean, she just, but it was beautiful to hear how Baba was with this little 7-year-old girl. It was just darling. But I'm hoping to, when she gets back, 10 o'clock would be too late for her, I think. But she lives in the Southwest, and I'm going to see if we can get her to come on. She's just, it was beautiful though, having an audience responding to her, because I mean, some of it was so funny, but not that she was being funny. It was just, she had to like, well, I won't tell you. You'll something you'll truly enjoy. Anyway, you all have a nice week, and Jai Baba, much love.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Thank you all, Jai Baba.
You. Thank
Love
you.
to Adrian there, and let's see
Yeah.
who else we got there. Yeah. Hey, Mev Thompson, we haven't seen her in a while. Yeah. Good. Anyway, Jai Baba. Bye-bye.
Hey, Baba, thank you.
Hey, Baba. Night, guys.
Jai Baba.
Night.
Hey, Tony.